begin. Welcome to the Community Health Relations Regional Program Volunteer Training. My name is Paula Lipford, and I am the Director of Volunteer Engagement for the Greater Carolinas Chapter. Also leading the training today will be Barbara Schutz, Services Manager for the Greater Carolinas Chapter. While we will be covering a lot of information today, please do not feel that you have to memorize it. We want you to be familiar with all of the various resources available for your visits to healthcare professionals, and you will receive much of this information in your toolkit. Now I will turn the presentation over to Barbara, who will go over our agenda and the goals of the program.
Today, we'll give you a brief overview of the program, review the program goals and expected outcomes of visits to healthcare providers, and give an overview of MS and the National MS Society resources. Then we'll talk about the details around the visit, including how to identify the healthcare provider, scheduling the visit, what to take with you, and documentation after the visit. For a program overview, volunteer liaisons will engage healthcare professionals by visiting the providers, including primary care physicians, neurologists, physical therapists, occupational therapists, nurse practitioners, mental health providers, and more. Healthcare providers and their staff are important referral services for the people with MS and their families to the National MS Society. The National MS Society will be able to extend its reach to outlying areas by having trained volunteers develop positive relationships with community healthcare providers. By serving as a representative to local healthcare providers, volunteers are responding to 2 of the National MS Society strategic response goals. This program allows the society to mobilize the millions of people who want to do something about MS. It also allows us to develop, deliver, and leverage resources to enhance care for the people with MS by expanding access to high-quality MS care and providing timely, accurate, and comprehensive information for all constituents. And these are some of the goals of the Community Health Relations Program. By providing information to healthcare professionals about the National MS Society's programs and services, we're hoping to reach these goals. If the professionals are aware of programs and services available to people living with MS and their families, they'll be more likely to refer them to the National MS Society. When a Community Health Relations volunteer makes a visit, they'll be able to get feedback about the needs of the patient seen by healthcare professionals, which will then in turn improve our services. We also want to let the professionals know about what resources we have available for them, which will allow them to better serve their patients with MS. We can also use this program to extend the reach of the National MS Society to outlying and rural areas. With the assistance from Community Health Relations volunteers, we can make a bigger and broader impact. Now Paula is going to give you a brief orientation about volunteering with the National MS Society.
As a representative of the National MS Society, you will probably be asked many questions. So we want to make sure that you have the most up-to-date information about MS and the Society. Multiple sclerosis is considered an immune-mediated disease. It is a chronic, often disabling disease that involves an immune system attack against the central nervous system, which is made up of the brain, spinal cord, and optic nerve. The disease is thought to be triggered in a genetically susceptible individual by a combination of 1 or more environmental factors. Women are 2 to 3 times more likely to be diagnosed with MS than men, and while most people are diagnosed between the ages of 20 and 50, MS can appear in young children and teens as well as much older adults. In multiple sclerosis, damage to the myelin in the central nervous system and to the nerve fibers themselves interferes with the transmission of nerve signals between the brain and the spinal cord and other parts of the body. This disruption of the nerve signal produces the primary symptoms of MS, which vary depending on where the damage has occurred. Symptoms, such as the ones listed on the slide, may be mild, such as numbness in the limbs, or severe, such as paralysis or loss of vision. The progress, severity, and specific symptoms of MS are unpredictable and vary from one person to another. Although there is no cure for MS, effective strategies are available to modify the disease course, treat exacerbations, manage symptoms, improve function and safety, and provide emotional support. In combination, these treatments enhance the quality of life for people living with MS. Current disease-modifying treatments are Avonex, Betaseron, Copaxone, Exdavia, Novatrone, Rebif, and Tysabri. And new oral medications are Aubagio, Gilenya, and Tecfidera. There are also medications used to manage symptoms. Some examples are Ampyra, which works to improve walking in MS, and Baclofen, which works on spasticity. The National MS Society was started by an amazing volunteer. Sylvia Lowry single-handedly launched this war on MS. After her brother Bernard was diagnosed, she put an ad in the New York Times asking for anyone with information about treatment options to come forward. Many people responded, but instead of treatment options, they had similar questions and a desire to do something about MS. In 1946, the National Multiple Sclerosis Society was born, and in 1947, the Society sponsored its first 3 research projects. Today, the National MS Society is a driving force of MS research, and global research efforts are underway. Research sponsored by the Society and its many partners in government, other MS societies, and the private sector has led to major advances in our understanding and treatment of this complex disease. Since its founding, the National MS Society has expended over $771 million to advance MS research. The Society's vision is to create a world free of MS, and to do that, we help each person address the challenges of living with MS through our 50-state network of chapters. The Society helps people affected by MS by funding cutting-edge research, driving change through advocacy, facilitating professional education, and providing programs and services that help people with MS and their families move their lives forward. Today, the MS Society is a driving force of MS research. Research sponsored by the Society and its many partners in government and the private sector has led to major advances in our understanding and treatment of this complex disease. In 2012 alone, through our national office and 50-state network of chapters, we devoted $121.9 million to programs and services that assisted more than 1 million people. To move us closer to a world free of MS, the Society also invested $43.3 million to support more than 350 research projects around the world. Now, we are standing together to raise $250 million to fuel MS research. Research that will stop MS in its tracks, restore what's been lost, and end MS forever. In addition, Fast Forward, which is an entity founded by the National MS Society, focuses on expediting the development of treatments and a cure, bridging the gap between promising discoveries and commercial expertise and funding to move them forward. Fast Forward provides critical funds to academic groups and emerging biotechnology and pharmaceutical companies involved in research and development. By connecting people, ideas, and resources, promising treatments can now break through barriers, move through the pipeline, and enter clinical trials faster. Now, Barbara is going to share some more information with you about the programs and services offered by the Society.
During your visit to healthcare professionals, it's important for you to be familiar with the variety of programs and services we offer. Some of them are listed on the next several slides. On this slide are some of the nationwide programs that are offered by the Society. Our website, www.nationalmssociety.org, is the website for the National MS Society, and it provides a wealth of information and resources. You can also search for your local chapter through this site. MS Connection is the newsletter of your local chapter. It's sent quarterly to chapter clients, the medical and social services community, and other interested individuals. MS Connection contains information about chapter activities, local resources, and current information about MS. Momentum is an award-winning quarterly magazine from our national office, which provides information on disease, human interest stories, research updates, and more. People with MS are eligible to get a free copy of this magazine. The Young Persons with MS is a network for families with a child or teen with MS. The network provides families living with a child or teen who's been diagnosed with MS the opportunity to connect with other families. MS Learn Online is the Society's online educational webcast, which includes a variety of topics and can be found on the National MS Society website. MS Connection Online Community is an online community that allows you to find, store, and share meaningful updates, posts, videos, articles, and other content about MS and the topics that you care about the most. You can connect with people, groups, and discussions that relate to the topics that shape your world. Knowledge is Power is a 6-week program for the people who are newly diagnosed with MS. Articles and DVDs are mailed each week on a specific topic. MS Next Step is a DVD and pamphlet designed to answer questions that are commonly asked immediately following a diagnosis. Our Information and Resource Center provides literature and helps people locate resources in their community. Here, counselors and staff members distribute up-to-date information on topics related to multiple sclerosis, such as research, treatment, and symptom management. They can also provide referrals to health professionals, social service agencies, and other community resources. To access the service, call 1-800-344-4867. MS Friends is a place where a person living with MS can connect with another person living with MS over the phone. It's open anytime between 8 a.m. and 11 p.m., 7 days a week. We also have options available for care partners to talk to other care partners. So leave a message and a care partner will follow up with them in 1 day. Keep Smiling is our quarterly newsletter for younger children who have a parent with MS. There are interactive games, a story, and a discussion sheet for parents. Children ages 5 to 12 who may want to receive this newsletter can have their parents contact the chapter to get on a mailing list. Career Crossroads Employment in MS is a self-study course designed by employment and MS experts to help individuals living with MS remain in the workforce. This course includes 6 video modules to highlight options and strategies to achieve this goal. We also have some programs that are on the local chapter level. We offer a wide variety of programs for people living with MS, their families, and healthcare professionals. They range from topics from in-person meetings to teleconferences. The Literature Lending Library, we have books, videos, DVDs, cassettes, and CDs on the topics of interest to people with MS. They're used for short-term loans, and the chapter provides self-addressed stamped envelopes to return the items. The National MS Society provides a wealth of information on different topics on MS. People who have questions about it, and chances are the Society has a pamphlet on it. The Literature and Lending Library can be found on your chapter website. Partners in MS Care program recognizes and supports quality MS care. The program involves healthcare professionals in the areas of neurology, mental health, and rehabilitation. Healthcare professionals recognized as partners in MS Care demonstrate knowledge and experiences in MS Care. They have a special interest in treating people living with MS and work closely with the National MS Society. Self-help groups provide a chance for individuals with MS, their families, friends, and other care partners to share common experiences and concerns, provide and receive emotional support, obtain information related to the disease, and on various aspects of living and coping with MS. Groups are led by people with MS, and all groups are free of charge. Financial assistance. The chapter offers financial assistance to people with MS to meet financial guidelines based on a sliding scale. This support can assist with a variety of situations. Contact your local chapter to find out what type of assistance is available. And your local chapter may offer even more programs and services. Find out about other programs and services in your area, visit your chapter website, or talk to your liaison. We also have many resources that are specifically for professionals that are provided by the National MS Society. The MS Clinical Care Network is an essential resource for healthcare providers and their patients. The network provides easy access to comprehensive information about MS management in a variety of formats. Their dynamic, engaging tools, and their resources for clinicians and their patients. We also have literature searches available to support high-quality clinical care. To access the MS Clinical Network, healthcare professionals can go to www.nationalmssociety.org/MS Clinical Care. Healthcare professionals are invited to consult via email with an MS specialist colleague at the email address listed on the slide. MS Clinical Care Connections is the Society's quarterly e-newsletter for healthcare professionals. It delivers information and resources on a variety of clinical topics. In addition to these services of MS Clinical Care Network, the Society offers continuing education, teleconferences, self-studies, and webinars for healthcare professionals. Resources for pediatric MS are also available through the MS Clinical Care Network, as well as fellowship applications for neurologists, nurses, and physician's assistants. An MS diagnosis and management app is available through the MS Clinical Care Network. It's unique and it's free tool that provides important information about the diagnosis and management of multiple sclerosis for practicing clinicians. The app is a concise compilation of the current, easy-to-reference, evidence-based information that you can access at no charge on an Apple or Droid app. The Society publications address complex treatment issues throughout the care continuum and facilitate clinician-patient communication to enhance the understanding and adherence. There's also slide decks and notes available for training in physicians, nurses, rehabilitation professionals, mental health professionals, and dentists for providing an MS overview to a lay audience.
Empowering people to become advocates for themselves and others is an important part of the Society's mission. Advocacy in the Southeast region is supported by a regional staff consisting of a senior director and team managers who work closely with volunteers from each chapter. They train volunteers to become advocates, keep these volunteers updated on important issues, and make legislators aware of issues that impact people living with MS. In order to fund programs and services, advocacy, and research, each chapter holds fundraising events, such as Bike MS, Walk MS, and Muck Fest. As community health relations volunteers, it is important for you to know about local events. It is always a good idea to check with your chapter liaison to see if posters or brochures are available for an upcoming event. It could be promoted by taking information to the office of the healthcare professional. People are often just waiting for an invitation to form a team and do something as an office to show their support for their patients and our cause. In addition to these events, do-it-yourself fundraising is an opportunity for people in our chapter area to raise awareness and critical funds for the MS movement in new and creative ways. The do-it-yourself site includes helpful resources to help kick off a do-it-yourself activity and learn from others who are hosting their own. Examples of do-it-yourself fundraising include golf tournaments, dinner parties, bake sales, endurance events, and simply asking your friends and more. Now we're going to review some guidelines around representing the Society. At all times, we do ask you to abide by the Society's confidentiality policy, and we'll go into more detail about that later. But just please be aware that we always safeguard information about people with MS, including the basic information that they have MS. We always want to make sure that we're using accurate and considered language while speaking to all staff at the healthcare professional's office. Avoid language that's more negative than it needs to be, or that makes MS the main aspect of someone. For example, say a person with MS instead of an MS person or an MSer, and say uses a wheelchair instead of wheelchair bound. And instead of handicap, we say a disability. Also, please be an objective listener. It's easy to share stories about your MS, family members' MS, but try to keep these to a minimum. Be sure to focus on the purpose of the presentation, which is to make the healthcare professional aware of the many resources that the society can offer. Also, if you get requests for advice or questions about medication and symptoms, please refer those back to the National MS Society. The healthcare professional can email the healthcare email on the previous slide for clinical advice from an MS specialist, or they can call the Information and Resource Center. Also, when acting as a representative of the chapter, it's always appropriate for you to give examples of how you participated with the society in some event or program and what opportunities that has meant to you. But please just remember to use discretion when sharing these personal experiences. If you have MS or a family member has MS and someone asks you about your medications, treatments, or therapies, it's up to you how much information you share. However, remember that you're paid to be a spokesperson for the MS Society. If you do share your personal experiences, you must specify that they are just that, personal experiences. The best way to ensure that the professional gets the information that he or she needs is to refer them back to the email address on the previous slide for clinical advice or to the Information and Resource Center phone number. We urge you that when you're asked a question, don't wing it. Don't just try to answer the question. If you aren't completely sure of the answer, always direct the questioner back to the society. You can't know everything about MS, and so we just want to make sure that you are directing them back to the email address that we've given you or the Information and Resource number at 1-800-344-4867. You might also have an opportunity where something comes up, such as that might be a potential conflict of interest. One of those examples is that sometimes you might be representing and another opportunity. You might be a volunteer with a pharmaceutical company where you speak about particular medication. Make sure that when you're visiting a healthcare professional, you are only representing the MS Society at that time. So just please be aware of that, and please know that you will be asked annually to read and sign a code of conduct. Again, as you make your visits, remember that we do not give advice on medications or symptoms or refer people to a particular physician. And we also are very careful not to read information to someone who did not personally request it. If someone would like some information personally, we can send that to them or get that to them, and then they can share it with someone else who might have MS. But we do not, are not able to send something to someone who has not personally requested it. Also, please refrain from making any kind of political comments or statements about any controversial issues or any off-color or inappropriate jokes. Now, Barbara's going to spend some time talking about the actual visits you'll be making.
Volunteers will make 2 to 4 visits per year. You can select the healthcare professional you would like to take information to, or you can suggest someone for you. We're placing an emphasis this year on educating professionals living in rural areas. If you have a professional you already have an established relationship with, that is an ideal place to start, or we can recommend somebody in your area. Some community health relation volunteers visit more than one professional, or they choose only one and visit them several times a year. You may also have requests from professionals that we would ask you to go to. This is a program you can do as much as you'd like to spread the word about the National MS Society. It is important and a requirement that you contact the chapter liaison and give them the details of the professionals you'll be visiting, so we can make sure there are no other volunteers making the same visit or a staff member making that visit. Always get approval from the chapter liaison before making a visit. We like to suggest you call and make an appointment with the healthcare professional. Remember, their staff are also important relationships to develop as well. Please keep in mind, however, that in order we hope to connect with the professional providing healthcare. This program is designed to meet one-on-one with the healthcare professional so they can get to know us. Please review your toolkit before each visit to make sure you have all the materials needed. Your toolkit will have a list of detailed information outlining exactly which materials to take on each visit. Now we're going to review the items in the toolkit. It's important to be familiar with each item you're bringing to the healthcare professional. The toolkit includes which material should be taken on each visit, depending on which type of healthcare professional you're visiting. You'll need to work with your chapter liaison to ensure that you have the most appropriate material. The healthcare professional can also book their publications and resources for healthcare professionals and resources for patients for additional listing of materials available. This is a letter that we've designed for you to leave with the professional, reminding them of some of the most important resources. You can adjust it as needed. Multiple Sclerosis Just the Facts is a brochure that includes general information about MS. Living with MS brochure is a brochure for people who've been newly diagnosed with MS. The MS Navigator brochure describes the MS Navigator program and how to connect and register with the National MS Society. Connecting with others living with MS outlines our connection programs, including MS Friends, online peer connections, and self-help groups. Publications and resources for healthcare professionals and a list of literature and resources specifically for the healthcare professional. They are available at the MS Clinical Care Network under Resources and Tools or by emailing healthpro_info@nms.org. The resources for patients is also a cardstock, and this includes resources available for their patients living with MS. It's a good reference guide for the clinician to keep and refer to when working with patients who live with MS. This is our health professional service provider intake form. If they provide services to people living with MS and are interested in being listed in our database as a service provider, they can fill out this form and email, fax, or mail it back to the chapter. Within this form, they can provide information for up to 3 healthcare providers per office. The information provided after being reviewed and approved will be added to our database for information and referral purposes. This is the MS Clinical Care Center brochure. It's a brochure with more information about the network and what services are provided. We also have additional materials available depending on the healthcare professional you're visiting. This isn't an all-inclusive list, so if you'd like to visit a different type of professional, check with your liaison, and we may have a specific brochure available for them. For example, if you're going to be visiting a physical therapist, you may want to take some of our brochures about exercise, gait or walking, stretching, or minimizing the risk of falls. Two of the most important pieces of information for you to remember to share on each visit are email addresses for our MS Clinical Care Network, which is provided on the slide, and the phone number for our Information and Referral Center. These 2 resources are the 2 key pieces of information for every healthcare professional to have at their fingertips. Each time you make a visit or send a follow-up note, please remember to give this contact information again and again. Our MS Clinical Care Network is staffed by professional MS specialists who can respond to any questions submitted by their peer. The network offers a range of free publications and services designed to support and facilitate the clinical work of healthcare professionals. And our Information and Resource Center is staffed by highly trained MS navigators to respond to the needs of people with MS, their family members, friends, caregivers, and employers who call with specific questions about MS. Finding answers and making sound decisions relies on having the right person at the right time. These are ways we can provide answers to questions and give access to information about all the options available. Also in your toolkit, you'll have a talking point handout. These have some guidelines to follow during the visit. Remember to tailor the talking points to the specific healthcare profession you'll be visiting. Introduce yourself as a volunteer of the National MS Society. Give an overview of the National MS Society. Give a description of programs and services for people living with MS and the programs and services that are specific for healthcare professionals. Distribute any brochures and information and ask if the professional has any questions. Be respectful of the professional time. Be on time for the visit and be concise when talking about programs and services available. You'll likely only get 5 to 10 minutes to meet with the professional, so be prepared and be concise. Also, let the professional know that we can put together kits for their patients who live with MS. In the kit, we can include information about the National MS Society and your local chapter. And then the professional can look at their publications listing and ask to include any of the brochures that they find relevant. For example, a urologist might want to include the brochure Urinary Dysfunction in MS. Confidentiality. Information about people living with MS will remain confidential. No information concerning persons affected by MS will be discussed outside the chapter office or with unauthorized parties. The National MS Society's mission is to provide services to individuals with MS and their families, and respecting their right to privacy is essential to our mission. The right to privacy is paramount. However, should it be determined that the individuals themselves or others, the need to ensure the safety of the individual must take precedence over the right to privacy. These privacy guidelines are for chapter staff and also for volunteers. So after each visit to healthcare professionals, the volunteer will fill out the healthcare professional visit follow-up form and return it to the chapter liaison. Remember to follow up with any items the professional may have requested, such as brochures or patient kits. Please consider sending a follow-up note letter after you complete your visit. Thank the person you spoke with for their time. Include any contact information in case they want to contact the chapter. Follow up with your chapter liaison about any additional materials you may need to send to refill your toolkit for your next visit. We've covered a great deal of information today. Please know that your liaison is available you might have. Many of your documents can easily be emailed to you if you need additional copies or mailed. We also have extra supplies of some of the books and brochures in your toolkit if you need additional copies. Please return the 5 codes of conduct, confidentiality agreement, and voluntary agreement in your toolkit. And thank you again for your participation today. And we look forward with your help to end MS now and together experience a world free of MS.